Greetings, my friends. You're watching Ruslan Belov, and today we have a truly important episode. The situation in Ukraine as of October 10th, 2025, is changing literally by the hour. There's so much happening right now that we won't waste a second. Let's dive straight in. The main story of the night is a massive combined strike launched by the Russian Federation against targets across Ukraine. The night between October 9th and 10th will go down as one of the most intense since the very start of the special military operation. Russia carried out an assault using hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles of various types. The attacks came in waves, one after another, without pause. By early morning, Ukrainian and pro-Ukrainian sources began posting this map, showing the approximate flight paths of Russian drones and missiles. And what immediately stands out is that the strikes were not selective or limited to a few specific targets. They were blanket strikes, covering vast territory. Practically the entire eastern part of Ukraine, from the Dnepro River all the way to Kharkiv, came under attack. At the epicenter were Kyiv, Kaniv, Kremenchuk, Zaporizhzhia, Poltava, Kharkiv, and several other large cities. But the key point is that Russia clearly chose its target type: energy infrastructure. Power plants, substations, and distribution nodes, everything responsible for light, heat, and the functioning of industry. Ukraine's Ministry of Defense released its official report early in the morning. According to their figures, during the night, 497 aerial weapons, drones, and missiles were launched, of which Kyiv claims 420 were shot down. Those numbers are, frankly, questionable, since they imply near-perfect interception. But even by their own estimates, the strike was colossal. Analysts note that if we count all waves of the attack together, the total number of weapons used exceeds 700. So while this wasn't the largest strike in terms of sheer quantity, by its power and effect on Ukraine's energy system, it was likely the most destructive so far. It was a fiery night. Dozens of videos flooded the internet, showing powerful explosions. In one clip from Kyiv, a massive blast, likely a hit on a power station or substation, instantly plunges the entire area into darkness. The lights go out in seconds. Residents report that the flash could be seen for dozens of kilometers. Soon after, nearly all major cities began experiencing disruptions, not only with electricity, but with water supply as well. Without power, pumping stations stopped, and parts of the grid were completely shut down. The same situation was reported in Dnipro, Poltava, Zaporizhzhia, and Kremenchuk. These shots here are from Chornomorsk, filmed on the evening of October 9th. They show the aftermath of the first strikes. The city partially plunged into darkness, whole neighborhoods left without electricity. Photos circulating online show destroyed transformers, damaged power lines, and burned out substations. There are also confirmed videos of strikes on Zaporizhzhia. According to the authors, they show hits on critical infrastructure, transformer blocks, distribution nodes, and industrial sites providing energy not only to residential districts, but also to strategic facilities. Separate explosions were recorded in Kremenchuk, Kaniv, and Dnipro. In every case, the targets were the same: energy and logistics hubs. Essentially, we are witnessing a new wave of systematic strikes aimed at completely disabling Ukraine's national power grid. And now we move to the front line. We'll start with the Zaporizhzhia sector, where the Russian army continues its steady advance. Based on the latest data and footage, the initiative here fully belongs to the Vostok East grouping of forces. The map has changed significantly, especially around Poltavka, Uspenivka, and Alexeyevka. Let's break it down step by step. First, Poltavka. The situation there is developing rapidly. Ukrainian sources have published several videos from their FPV drone operators striking Russian positions. The footage shows drones hitting farms and buildings on the eastern outskirts of the village. One drone crashes directly into a complex of structures. Yet despite these attacks, all available data indicate that Russian forces maintain full control over the eastern bank of the Yancha River. This is confirmed both by satellite imagery and by independent mapping services. Moreover, if we compare the Ukrainian data carefully, it becomes evident that by the end of October 10th, Russian units not only hold the eastern part, but are also consolidating closer to the center. The central and southern sectors of Poltavka are now marked as a grey zone, meaning fierce street fighting is ongoing inside the settlement itself. Videos from the central part of the village show artillery strikes hitting Ukrainian positions. So despite some claims of total control, the reality is that parts of Poltavka remain contested. In the heart of the village, close-quarters battles are taking place. However, the key development is that Russian forces successfully crossed the Yancha River and entrenched themselves on the Ukrainian side. This is strategically significant. It opens the way for further advances toward the Uspanivka fortified area and threatens Ukrainian logistics routes. Now, to Uspanivka. Here, Russian troops are also moving forward, step by step, striking main supply routes and temporary Ukrainian troop locations. Footage has appeared showing airstrikes on the settlement of Zlahoda, presumably targeting Ukrainian positions and reserves. A bit farther north, in the Alexeyevka area, the situation has also shifted. Several days ago, Ukrainian sources themselves marked the southern part of the village as a grey zone, which already suggested a breach in their defense line. Today, new visual evidence confirms that Russian units have entrenched themselves in the southern section of the settlement. In one of the videos, a Ukrainian tank can be seen firing at farm buildings from a very short distance, just a few hundred meters from the contact line. This indicates that at the time of recording, those farms were already under Russian control. As a result, the map now shows a new segment, a small but important breakthrough area. Its importance can hardly be overstated. If Russian troops fully secure Alexeyevka, they will gain control over the Volchya River. That river is a strategic barrier, and losing it would deprive Ukraine of the ability to move reinforcements south or launch counterattacks. This conclusion is supported by the latest videos. In one of them, a Ukrainian vehicle attempts to cross the Volchya, perhaps to deliver reinforcements or evacuate the wounded. However, a Russian drone spots it and destroys it with a direct hit. Other similar clips show the same pattern. Every time Ukrainian equipment tries to cross the river, it is immediately struck by FPV drones. In practice, the Ukrainian side has lost the ability to cross the river. All existing crossings are under constant fire and surveillance. Any attempt to move across this line ends in destruction. This means that the northern flank of the Pokrovsk direction is now securely closed. The Russian army has gained the opportunity to advance calmly toward the Uspanivka and Poltavka fortified zones. Ukrainian supply routes now remain only through Huliaipol, but according to the latest data, that road too is under the watch of Russian drones and is controlled from the air. Now we move on to the next sector, the Pokrovsk direction, and today there's a flood of major updates from this area as well. Let's start with the northeastern arc of the Pokrovsk agglomeration, where the front line has once again shifted, and the changes are quite significant. We'll begin with the settlement of Rodinske. Today, neutral cartographers report that Russian units have managed to secure positions in the northeastern part of the settlement. This suggests that a turning point in the battle for Rodinske has been reached. Most likely, in the coming days, we'll be receiving more and more geolocations from this area as Russian forces push toward the T-0515 highway and the railway line nearby. Next, we move on to Vladimirovka. This is where the most important footage and the most significant updates are coming from today. Experts and cartographers of all sides, pro-Ukrainian, neutral and pro-Russian alike, agree on one thing. As a result of a powerful counterattack involving dozens of armored vehicles, Russian forces managed to break through the Ukrainian defense line and push Ukrainian formations northward toward Shakov. Reports mention dozens of combat vehicles that took part in this assault. Information also indicates that during the attack, the Russian side landed approximately 75 troops simultaneously inside Vladimirovka. They dismounted from their vehicles and took up positions within the settlement itself. For now, the map has not yet been adjusted. Analysts are waiting for additional confirmations and new geolocations. Still, today's footage already provides clear evidence of this breakthrough. We can actually see moments from the battle, episodes where Russian forces employed hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles to smash through the Ukrainian defenses. The Ukrainian side tried hard to repel the assault, deploying FPV drones and attempting to destroy Russian equipment. But judging by the results, those efforts failed. Following this breakthrough, map updates were introduced. Fields south of Vladimirovka, as well as the southern part of the settlement itself, have been recolored to reflect Russian control. And most likely, in the near future, the first verified geolocations will start appearing from Kharkov itself, the very heart of what analysts call the Kharkov pocket. We can also see that the main road leading into this pocket is now under complete fire control thanks to constant drone surveillance. In other words, the supply line to this Ukrainian grouping has been cut off. Russian units are gradually tightening the ring around Kharkov from the east, from the direction of Rusin Yar and Poltavka. At this rate, it seems only a matter of time before Russian forces physically sever the last supply artery, leaving the Kharkov pocket in total encirclement. Once Ukraine loses control of the Kharkov area, and that now appears inevitable, the Russian side will be able to straighten the front line, create a strong springboard for further breakthroughs, and from those positions launch offensives in virtually any direction, either toward Dobropilya or toward Druzhkivka. And that, in fact, would mean a direct strike into the rear of Ukrainian units currently defending Kostiantynivka. If Russia succeeds in its advance toward Druzhkivka, the consequences for Ukraine could be even more catastrophic than a breakthrough toward Dobropilya or a further encirclement of Pokrovsk itself. Now let's move to Kostiantynivka. Here, the map has remained unchanged for several days. Footage of airstrikes continues to appear, showing Russian aviation targeting Ukrainian positions in the southwestern part of the city. It's another Kostiantynivka fortress, but now forming on this particular axis. Apparently, the Russian army is preparing a bridgehead here before launching active offensive operations. Judging by the pattern and concentration of the strikes, it's likely that Russian troops will attempt to storm Kostiantynivka, not head-on from the direction of Predtakhin, but from the southwest, from Beryozka, Stepanivka, and Dolha Balka. On this section of the front, the Ukrainian side lacks the large and heavily fortified strongpoints that are located to the east of Kostiantynivka. Next, we head towards Siversk, where fierce fighting continues as well. Today's most important footage comes from the settlement of Yampil. In these clips, Ukrainian forces are seen striking Russian positions in the northern part of Yampil using FPV drones. These are crucial objective control videos confirming that the Russian side appears to hold steady control over the northern and northeastern sectors of the town. We can also see Ukrainian forces repeatedly attempting to send reinforcements toward Yampil to stabilize the situation. However, all roads leading into the area have long been under the observation and fire control of Russian FPV drone operators. Anything that moves toward Yampil is immediately targeted and destroyed. At this point, entering or leaving the area, much like in Kupiansk, is practically impossible. The noose is tightening, the encirclement is becoming denser and more complete. The Ukrainian armed forces are suffering heavy losses not only in combat, but even in attempts to approach or withdraw from the pocket. And that's all for today, my friends. Thank you for watching, thank you for your support. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your likes and share this video. Take care and see you in the next report.